गुड इवनिंग एंड वेलकम टू गना शॉट। गना शॉट में आप सबका स्वागत है। आज हम बात करेंगे स्मॉल एंड चीप टेक्नोलॉजीज इन बैटल। वी नो that in the past 2 years we've seen many conflicts. The one in Ukraine is the longest running one, and followed by the Israel Hamas one in Gaza and what's happening in the South China Sea. In all these, technology has come to the fore, there's no doubt. But what's more important is small and cheap technologies, run of the mill technologies, which you use day to day. That has come into play. That has made a difference. But what we'll do today is a little different. First, we'll have a theoretical construct of how the whole story is going to go about and how the whole story has unfolded. And then we'll touch the technologies. And then I'll expand on a few of the technologies because I can't expand on all, but I will. Some of them. Okay. The first thing which I've learned is the war is fought between the years. If so, hitherto, it was planning. A general was supposed to plan. He was supposed to build an army and everything. Today, an officer and a general, or even a Jawan, he needs to know how to handle technology, and he needs to know how to handle technology in the heat of battle. War is fought between the years, because if he can leverage technology, he'll get results. That is something which has come out very clearly in the past 2 years. Okay, I'll go back to this article because this article is the centerpiece of this entire story of how the battle space has changed. This Washington Post article where what a Russian and Ukrainian general agree on, this battle space is different. And recognizing this new battle space where you have to fight is half the battle. In fact, it is more than half the battle. Okay. And what do they say? I keep repeating it, but it's worth going over. Okay. Traditional maneuver forces are sitting ducks. We are looking at an algorithm war. The fog of war has cleared. We are looking at a newly transparent battle space. And this is very important. This is probably where cheap technologies have made its mark. Air defense has won an unexpected triumph over military aviation. But then the concept of military aviation and the concept of air defense has changed. NATO artillery, superiority, because technology driven artillery. So you need a radical rearmament of your firepower. Artillery, that's what they spoke of. And the best weapons are small and cheap systems, and that's what we're going to speak. I did an analysis. Yeah, you can keep fighting with tanks, artillery, aircraft, and infantry. They'll continue. But the fact is, today's war and tomorrow's war will be hybrid. And hybrid is the new normal, which means you need more increased domain awareness with space, UAVs, networking and AI and narratives. All those technologies which I spoke of in the last episode on military technologies of this century will come good. And then when you look at future weapons, you're looking at UAVs, rockets and missiles, digital and space and nuclear capability. I'll talk of these as we go along. Rockets and missiles, we're going to talk in the next episode, day after tomorrow. Digital and space, we'll cover it as part of AI in battle. UAVs and drones will touch now. Right. Before that, there's certain fundamentals of technology and war which have, come out. Politico-military fusion is a must to prosecute war. That's the fundamental of repurposing technology to war. It's happened in Ukraine in a big manner because politico-military fusion is just not uh, at the top level. It is at the bottom level where the civilian structure gets enmeshed with the military structure. You can't rely on global support, right? You've seen how Ukraine is struggling with global support. It's getting global support, but when it has not got global support, it has struggled. And it's a big lesson for us. And technology, which is from outside sources, is always questionable because you don't know whether you'll get it in time or you can adopt it. You see the conversion rates of their training. Ukraine has been given F-16s, but they're not able to put it to battle because people have to get trained. Okay, so that's important. Economic interdependence does not negate war. That we've seen with China. Despite our economic interdependence, it didn't stop us from coming into them to come into Ladakh. Peace based on agreements, bleak treaties is fragile. We've seen it again in Ladakh in our own case. We've seen it in the case of Ukraine. A lot of peace treaties, Minsk 1, 2, all that went for a toss. Right? War is never short and will always be violent. Very important. So, what does it mean? It's going to be costly. How do you make it cheap? That's the challenge. Okay? And wars have unpredictable outcomes. No war so far has gone as per set piece thinking. Deterrence cannot assure peace. We might think we are a nuclear nation, but will it stop us from going for war? No. You've seen Eastern Ladakh, you've seen Kargil happening. There's space for war. And that space is dominated by technology. Not in Kargil, but in Ladakh it did. Complacency is detrimental to national security. We've been afflicted by it. And if you're going to be in a hybrid kind of a situation, the lines between peace and war are blurred. And if they're blurred and it's hybrid, reliance on technology goes up. Right? And how? We'll see. Okay. There are a few things which I thought I must tell you. When I did this research for this topic to put across, I must have seen about 8 to 10 videos, read a lot of articles, you know, spoke to people, everything. And I thought, these points are very important in the way the battle has changed, the battle space has changed, and how technology has come in. And that is why I'm going to talk because the construct of the battlefield, the way forces act on the battlefield has changed. And why is it changed? Because of technology. And it is here that the cheap and small technologies have made a difference. So let's have a look at it. You have to understand that. Right. Jointness goes beyond Air Force, Navy, and Army. It now encompasses civilians and industry. Politico military fusion, politico civil military fusion. And that is when normal technology can be repurposed to war. Our adversary seeks to avoid war, pose a non contact threat, and practices A2AD, anti access, anti denial. This is specific to us. Who's our adversary? Who does this? China. And to a large extent, Pakistan is following suit. The trend will be small distributed units along with long range precision fire. That's the order of the day. In fact, the US Marines are completely reorganized in this manner. Okay? And in this, small technologies matter. Units will operate in an intense air environment, and that air environment has changed completely. Earlier, our thinking of air environment was only fighters, transport aircraft, all that. No, today it is not so. It is fighters, hepters, missiles, drones, balloons, everything. So your air defense must be different and layered. Okay, layered to the extent of being able to discern the threat and being able to see this threat over the horizon. Only then you can handle it. The aircraft, which were supposed to be the fighters, the biggest threat, are now the least threat. The biggest threat are the drones. So your complete thinking of air defense has to change. Air superiority is never going to be established hereafter. It's a fallacy. Right? The conventional way the Indian Air Force still thinks of air superiority is a dream. It will not happen. Let's be very clear about it. Right? They cannot guarantee you air superiority. They will, anything else is less. I don't know. You know, no Air Force can stop a few drones going here and there. And this technology is getting more sophisticated and cheaper. The other day, I had a second year BTech student saying, "Sir, after this exam, I want to sit with you because I have a design for a 3D printed drone, short takeoff and landing." This is the kind of proliferation in aerial technology which is happening. You have to think differently, right? Okay. Next, the cost to kill and cost to protect will come into play. The normal thinking is that, look, I heard generals talk of this. And the Houthis have a small missile. The US has to use a, complicated missile to shoot it down. So who's won the story? Battles don't go that way. Right? The cost to kill might be overkill. You might have to spend a $1 million missile to shoot down $100,000 or $1,000 drone. But what are you protecting? That comes into play. The cost to protect. So the criticality of what you're protecting is the one which decides the cost. And that is something which many people miss. Right? Okay. Next. Data integration of a high order will be a necessity. So far, we have gone the traditional way of networking and data integration and all that. But in the wars, especially in Ukraine, data integration has been done through civilian resources, which I will speak of. Electronic warfare and electronic support measures will prevail. And we'll talk of it. Lack of ability to move. Why? Why is this? This is very important for everyone to understand. In the days gone by, when the borders were diffuse, no one knew which was the border and boundaries were not settled. Countries were still evolving. You could do maneuver left, right, and center. But today, everyone knows, everyone defends this border. So the ability to maneuver has gone. Battlefield surveillance has come into play. Battlefield transparency has come into play. Everyone knows where the enemy is coming from. You have to fight in a completely transparent battle or battlefield, and hence you need to, you can't maneuver. You saw in Ukraine, there's no maneuver. They tried maneuver and failed. You've seen in Gaza how difficult it is for them to maneuver. The Chinese tried it in Ladakh and they failed because they had to come head to head with us. And they're finding it difficult to maneuver in the sea, in the South China Sea, even through hybrid forces, even through complete, superiority of naval power. So firepower has returned. If you don't fire, if you don't maneuver, you have to fire. So firepower has returned with a vengeance. Artillery, air defense, drones, aerial power, redefined aerial power. So these are the things which are now ruling the roost. And how has this been harnessed is what we're going to talk of in a very cheap manner. The beauty of this whole system is you use the costly systems, you use the cheap systems, you integrate them on the run and apply it in battle. That is the difference which has happened. Right. Okay. So there's a concept of strategic maneuvers by fire, because the fire can maneuver. But if you want that to happen strategically, you need depth surveillance. Now, sea denial was supposed to be from the sea here in the 2-4. But a ragtag outfit like Houthis, or for that matter, the Ukrainians, they are doing sea denial from the land. So the importance of the littorals in naval engagements has gone up. Ukraine has downed so many Russian ships. Look at the Houthis. So your concepts are turning on their head. For all this, for you to fight the next battle, industrial basis and capacity is important. Civil military fusion is important. Politico military fusion is important. I told you jointness in the beginning is all about Army, Navy, Air Force, industry, and civilians, and your government. Whole of nation approach. Are we practicing that? We are still not in theaters. Okay, right. Now we'll touch small and cheap technologies. I'll go over one by one. I'll highlight each of them. The first, drones and anti-drones. I'll talk of it a little later. But drones have proliferated, and now the anti-drone, counter-drone systems are proliferating. And they're all cheap, made out of cardboard. 3D printing. Now, we ought to understand what 3D printing is. Because 3D printing, I will talk of it. I'll talk of it later in the day. AI. It's revolutionizing battlefield. It's revolutionizing every aspect of the battlefield. And I'll again talk of how predictive AI, generative AI is going to help in the battle. Separate, that's why I put one separate episode for that. Okay, fire control aggregation. This is super. What did the Ukrainians do? You have Uber. You open your Uber app tomorrow or some apps, and you say, okay, I want to go from my house to the airport. Okay, it tells you in 5 minutes you'll have a thing with you and where the vehicle is coming from. And in some apps, they tells you how many cabs are around your house. The same thing, they've repurposed it for artillery. So you say, I'm sitting here. You know where it is. You are. And where do you want your fire to go? You feed in. Okay. Such and such a place. So they get all those fire units which are able to reach there, aggregated and shown. Repurpose fire control apps. Something like Uber, repurpose aggregator. And like you have a mini or a sedan or a premium in the Uber app, they've said different kinds of artillery on the go. Okay. Then repurpose app, the DIA app. Let me see if I have this. Yeah. What is this repurpose DIA app? It is their Ukrainian, normal municipal system app which has been repurposed for battle. How is it done? For some time I didn't understand. And then I looked at this Nama Chennai. Nama Chennai is an app in Chennai, and it's available to me. It's available to me on my. It's available to me on my mobile. What can I do with it? You don't understand, right? This is the screen which comes out. I can put grievances. I can ask for birth certificate. I can ask for. It's got a lot of things. Let's take grievance. The moment you take grievance, what happens is that you press grievance in this. Okay. Then you say register complaint. That's how it comes. And you can take photo or register without a complaint, without a photo, or cancel. These are the three options you get. So I go with the photo. Okay, I'll take a photo of the complaint I want to put, and I upload it. I'm just giving you how this is being used. Then I get a menu. What kind of complaint I have? Public health, public toilet, whatever it is. Right? And then I can put in my login, where, how, all that. So in this, I put exactly my street location, everything comes out. Okay. Now, this is what has been repurposed in Ukraine. Because the moment I take a photograph of my complaint, the grid reference of that complaint gets uploaded. My street, everything is uploaded, and everything goes into the municipal corporation of Chennai. And 2 days later, I get a call. But that's the normal thing. But here, what happens? I'm sitting somewhere, I see a Russian tank, I take a photograph, upload it, immediately somewhere, someone knows where the Russian tank is. The coordinates of the Russian tank are there. So you repurpose your civilians to take photographs, and the app is doing everything. So you have a surveillance network. So you use the fire control aggregator and use the surveillance network. So on one mobile, if you have the fire control aggregator and the this app, repurposed app, you can fire, you can engage the target, and plus pass information. And they also, tuned it so that your whatever you have to say, you can say, and it goes. Thank you. So warfare is changing, and we have to be tuned to that. Then citizens spotter, they have citizen spotters. Nuked kiya hua hai. Chaps are there. Okay, you will be here, you will be here, you will be here, like the French resistance. So you don't have to send trans-border patrols, this, that, and all. That fellow sitting on a culvert and watching, like in CI ops, people see. Can we do it in Tibet? So you mix cheap technology, locals, civilianized, hybridize the war, and you are through. And if you can get information is power on the battlefield, the fog of war is lifted. Cheap technology doesn't mean that you make a gun cheap, but there are methods to make things cheap. You can make drones cheap. So you can lose a drone, it doesn't matter. How you make it cheap will come later. I'll tell you. Okay, then there's something called TSF, Telecommunications Sans Frontiers. What is it? It is like Medicine Sans Frontiers. Medicine Sans Frontiers had vehicles, they used to go at a place, distribute vehicles in war zones. Here, people called Telecommunications Sans Frontiers come to you with mobile sets. It's an international NGO, basically meant for disaster. So that in disaster areas, they can come and establish a grid, telecommunication grid. This was repurposed in Ukraine to give the Ukrainian forces a network and link it with Starlinks. You're through. Your communication never fails. So, and you use civil networks. You repurpose normal net thing to civil networks. So, how can we leverage this or create this? Then, of course, EW and ESM have, taken out many things out of the equation, like spoofing. Let me explain this. Today, Excalibur, at one point of time, Excalibur had 90% success rates in battle. 155M Excalibur, pinpoint precision. Today, its success rate is 10%. Why? People have spoofed. So you in an area you spoof GPS signals. So that fellow gets confused, he'll not hit the target. As simple as that. What's the cost of a signal and a transmitter? Negligible. What's the cost of a Excalibur round? A crore. Or maybe 20 lakhs, 30 lakhs, 40 lakhs, 50 lakhs. A crore is what I think. So you defeated a costly affair with almost a nothing. Okay. So your precision systems can be spoofed tomorrow. So you have to think of precision systems which are non-spoofable. So you have to think back to first principles of warfare. That is costly technology. Let me tell you this. Because you need to think. You need to think out of your box. Oh, incidentally, I'm doing that. I'm doing that for India. Only problem for me is people don't believe it. People don't think of this as this is the future. The future is not in having precision systems. The future is GPS based precision systems, conventional. The future is in having precision, achieving precision without being interfered through alternate strategies. I spoke of alternate strategy other day. You need to have alternate technologies, alternate strategies. People get enamored by technology. Oh, precision, I need to achieve like this. There's nothing written. What is written is you have to destroy the enemy. How you destroy the enemy is the best technology. Think. People are not thinking these days. And I don't blame anyone who's seeing this. People who are not thinking differently are those in uniform. I told them, I told some of them on their face. We need to think differently. And that's why talks like this become important. I mean, someone might say, "Yeah, this old general is talking nonsense. It doesn't matter." But if I talk nonsense and it triggers a thought in you, it's worth it. Worth it. Okay. Then space, small nanosats, satellites, 3D printed quick launch systems. I'll talk of this space, nanosatellites, printable rockets, and all. When I talk of space, today's space dominates the battlefield like never before. That's why I'm having a separate episode on space. Then 3D printing. I'll talk of it a little later. Then others, encryption and crypto breaking. Order of the day, hacking. Hacking and anti-hacking. Right? Social media. I'll talk of social media a little later separately. Cyber attacks, we all know it. Counter battery systems. If you don't have counter battery systems today, you are a sitting duck. You need to get the enemy artillery off your back. Firepower has returned. And very important how you have developed this counter battery systems in battle. One of the problems with our counter battery systems is we are all trying to be electronic in nature. The time has come for us to be acoustic also. These counter battery systems have to be clubbed as counter drone systems also. We have to think differently. There are schemes, there are methods which you can achieve that, but you have to think differently and invest into it, which we are not. Okay, right. Then cruise missiles and low cost rockets. Today, anyone and almost everyone is able to produce a cruise missile and a low cost rocket. Again, I'll talk of it when I talk of rise of rockets. That's day after tomorrow. AR, VR for training. At one point of time, people said, "What will I do with VR, AR, and alternate reality and all this nonsense or virtual reality? What is this?" Today, you train, you fast track training. AR, VR has come as a big boon for the Ukrainians in their pilots and their tank people and their gunners in training. Why is this cheap? Why is this I've included the cheap technology? It's cheap because it fast tracks training. The cost you spend on training otherwise is, the cost you spend on AR, VR is minuscule compared to the cost you spend on training and fast track people. So if otherwise you would train a person on an equipment in 1 year, with AR, VR, they have cut it down by 1/4. And this is practicality. Okay. Then I have also said about GPS jamming and spoofing as part of electronic warfare, right? Which can wreck anything. So the electronic whole story, non-emitting surfaces, non-emitting systems is the way forward. Then soft explosives. This is something fantastic. It is a foam. What is soft explosive? It's a foam. Israelis have used it in the tunnels. How do you block a tunnel? You have a tunnel, you have something going like this, something going like that. You don't know how to, people will come. You go forward on one, some chap will come from behind and shoot you. So they've used soft explosives to block these tunnels. And what is a soft explosive? It is an aerosol which converts into a foam and then hardens and seals areas. Very cheap. It's not stabilized technology, but they've started using it. And then there's a patient monitoring system, which is something fantastic. I saw it in a startup in IIT Chennai, Madras. So what does it do? So if there's a patient, there are monitors he has. His entire parameters are monitored and put on a computer and sent to someone else. And that computer is just a small thing like a mobile and sent to some guy sitting far behind who's a specialist. He's monitoring. If the chap is a heart attack, his heart attack can be monitored by from 100, 200 kilometers away. All his parameters are monitored. He can be administered medicine. Like it's something like virtual reality. It uses virtual reality also. So you don't take a casualty back, you treat him in situ. Right? So all these are being used. So what does this patient monitoring system help you with? You don't have to evacuate casualties, so your fighting strength is retained. You just take him out of the front line, keep him in a shelter wherever, and keep treating him. So your ability to hold casualties up ahead and treat them has increased. And those of you who have evacuated a casualty will know I mean, for one casualty, you need 4 people to evacuate, or at times six if it's an altitude. And you can't carry them for a long distance. After some time, you have to, change round and all that. Okay. So these are the things which are coming in a big way. Let's talk of a few new technologies. It's not only cheap, these are costly, but they're there. You need to know what are these new technologies. Robotics and exoskeletons. Huge. And our friend across the border, he is very busy trying to make exoskeletons. Adaptive camouflage is the name of the game. Starlinks, of course, we have said. Directed energy weapons, EMP, electromagnetic pulse weapons, and lasers. They're coming in. Battlefield energy, very important. I'll talk of it later. Semiconductor technology. If you don't have semiconductors of the required thing, you will not have equipment. Tunnel detection sensors, ground penetration radars, seismic devices. All these were being used extensively by Israelis in Hamas. I mean, to detect the tunnels of Hamas. And you'll need them going ahead. Hypersonic systems. For the first time in the Ukraine war, Kinzhal, the hypersonic missile was fired. What is a hypersonic? What does it do? Day after. Active protection systems against top attack. Because all tanks are now completely exposed to top attack. So you are looking at actors and body armor. So all these go to make cheap and new technology. Some of these new technologies are not cheap; they're pretty costly. But there are a lot of them which can be made cheap. Okay, what is your approach to small and cheap technology? We have to understand this. Not all technology, not all weapons can be changed. It's not realistic to replace all expensive and existing systems with cheap off the shelf technology. In some cases, it is feasible. In some cases, it is not feasible. Okay. Many high end systems play important roles in combating capabilities of our adversaries. So you can't do away with them. You can't do away with a high quality gun or a missile. But you can do away you can hasten the whole process by having a good training system based on cheap AR, VR or simulation. Okay. Have a good battlefield surveillance system, target location system, right? Which is not traditional and complement it. So that is what I've said next. Complement complex high technology with cheaper autonomous sensors, communication relays, munitions, and decoys. All designed to cater to create friction, slow conflict, and increase the long-term cost to adversaries. Mix and match. Invest in resilient networks, adaptable information technology, and munition stockpiles. Create logistics resilience and increase deterrence credibility beyond the initial salvos of war. India needs to cut the administrative cost of technology by reforming bureaucracy. Without bureaucratic systems, none of these technologies can be adopted. Okay? And use that saving to invest in defense industrial capacity and access to raw source for emerging technology. So you need to have a game plan. Whatever has happened in Ukraine, whatever has happened in uh, Israel, is innovation on the battlefield. And that innovation, the first year there was no innovation. It was only the second year of Ukraine war these innovations started happening. Or after some time, I would say 1 year, maybe 4 months, maybe 5 months, they started saying, look, marta kya nahi karta. Same thing is happening here. Tunnel detection systems and soft gels and soft explosives, right? Or for that matter, the Hamas using water pipes to make rockets. So things are changing. Okay, drones. Today, what are the kinds of drones? There have been a hell of a lot. I'll not even venture to tell you what kinds of drones are there. The biggest revolution is in this because drones give you front end integration on the target of seeker and sensor. I spoke of this when I was in service as a major general. People said, yeah, don't be a fool. It's happened. Unfortunately, and I keep saying this, unfortunately, no one aided me then. In that, someday I'll show you that presentation which I said this. This was a major general, 2010-12. FPV drones, what is it? First person view drones. So a chap who launches, even if it's in a short distance, he's got a set of headsets, he's got he's got a headset which can hear and see, and he can control, and he can extract whatever information and send it back. Cardboard and disposable drones, 3D printed drones, unmanned underwater vehicles and missiles in coordinated attacks on ships. That's how Moscow was sunk and all the other ships of Russia were sunk. Autonomous drones and swarms. You look at the Aramco attack. It happened 2019. We should have woken up. Where 13 or 14 drones and cruise missiles hit two refineries from as far away as 1,000 kilometers. In a swarm attack. We didn't even analyze it to say how did they do it and how could it have been done? How can we adopt it? So, this is the power of thinking. I said the battle has to be won between the years. We have not done it. Okay. Social media. I said social media for what? Info dissemination, psyops, recruitment. They've recruited mercenaries, they've recruited citizen soldiers, what have you. Aid, relief, logistics, casualty management, social media. Something like Twitter also they've used. Population control and refugee control. So that people go and, where they're supposed to go, they go out of harm's way. Disaster response, flood alerts, and flood relief. Remember one thing, whatever can be used in disasters can be used in war. That's what I told General Hasnain the other day. Whatever you do, you have to transfer it into the armed forces and the your paramilitary forces. Real-time updates, int collection, all through social media. So you have citizen spotters with social media, you have apps which are reconfigured, and for either for battlefield surveillance or for firepower aggregation, you are fighting a different battle altogether. You building your narrative, you're fighting both. Now let's talk of 3D printing. What is 3D printing? What is so great about 3D printing? Understand the fundamentals of 3D printing. The 3D printing is nothing like, it's like a layer by layer. You have a sheet of base on which you put whatever design you want. You put another layer, you put another layer, you put another layer. You keep printing layers on it, and the whole structure gets built. The thing is, complex structures, which otherwise have to be can't be forged or machined to accuracy can be done seamlessly, no joints, strong structures. The moment you put a joint, that weakens the structure. Very good for missiles, very good for 3D structures, for aerial vehicles. That's why the proliferation of drones through 3D. And then you can, the 3D process allows you to cut down time. So I'll give you an idea. There's a startup in IIT Madras. They make, it's called Agnikul. It's in public domain. You can go into the net and see it. Now Agnikul makes 3D printed rockets. What takes a year to make the rocket motor? This fellow will make it in 3 days and give you through 3D printing. That's the beauty of 3D printing. Okay? It just prints the whole thing out, but you need technology for it. This is not cheap technology, it's costly technology. But once you master it, it makes things cheap. What does Agnikul do? He puts at this point of time, they're letting suborbital rockets with a satellite go. They're just going to do a firing one of these days. But with this, can I have the capability of launch a satellite on demand with a nanosatellite or whatever it is? I can. Are we thinking like this? We've started. Okay, so I'll go through quickly over this 3D printing, what it is. Right. 3D printers are now affordable enough for less than $200. You can buy a pretty decent hobby printer. It's so cheap. Okay. So that means with a $200 hobby printer, you can make a drone at home. They take an elaborate computer file and turn it into a three-dimensional product. These printers vary in size and style and can print in a variety of material, including concrete. You can build a concrete structure with 3D printing, but that 3D printing is a little different. 3D printers can take up entire garages and print boards and more. Defense industry already uses 3D printers to prototype and produce individual parts of systems. Right? And they are also affecting the battlefield at the tactical level. 3D printers of all sizes produce everything from protective gear to bunkers, reinforced bridge, and a barrack room. Okay, they are also used today to print firearms. Your standard hobby printer could print a majority of pieces for a gun. Of course, they might lack durability and all, but they can do. Printed guns have appeared in Myanmar civil war. In Israel's West Bank, Israeli patrol discovered several 3D printed firearms on the West Bank, including Glock-like pistols. Because everything is today now available at home. You can make your hobby printer can make most parts of your firearm, and they're intricate. So gone are the days when you needed kata type of thing. You give a guy who, like in Munger in Bihar, who makes katas. You teach him 3D printing. Tomorrow he will produce Berettas and Smith and Wessons. Battlefield changed, and he'll sell it at less than 1/10. So your designing has to change. Your thinking has to change. What is battlefield energy all about? Battlefield today, with the kind of proliferation of electronic equipment and where you are in high altitude, the fossil fuel is out. Gone are the days when you could take kerosene from Chandigarh, go through Rohtang Pass, go to Leh, offload it in underground, tankers in Leh, and from there you put it into a 3-ton in barrels, go across Kardungla, go to a place at the base camp of Siachen, offload it from there, put it into a jerry can, and then take it by mule or by porter or by helicopter to on the glacier. That is inefficient. It's finished. But we are still going through that because you don't have alternate forms of energy. Have we tapped solar energy? Have we tapped wind energy? A combination of wind and solar, and you put fuel cells along with it. Fuel cells we are making in the AIP, Air Independent Propulsion System for submarines. Why are we not using them there? Can you look at nuclear processes or thorium processes? Can you put a small reactor on top and say use it? Thorium experimental reactor. Have you thought of using hydrogen? Have you thought of using electric batteries? Whether it's lithium ion or nickel manganese or nickel metal hydride batteries or lithium sulfur, sodium ion, lead acid, जो भी है, new batteries which can quick charge. Look, very important. I was on OP post when in the 70s, high altitude. We used to have huge batteries for our radio sets, and that radio set used to be 25 to 30 kg, and the battery was another 20 kg. So that battery would come up, and I could only communicate on it, say 1 hour or 2 hours in a day, because if you communicate more, it'll discharge. If it discharge, you have to get it down by 4,000 to 5,000 feet and charge it at the bay. And so that fellow had to get petrol from somewhere to charge it, and he had to put the charger the whole night, so that morning that battery is ready. And two hefty Rajputs used to put it on their head and walk up 2,000 feet to get it. By then they were half dead. That is why you have to think of battlefield energy. If you want all these items to function in the battlefield, you need energy. You have to think differently. Can you think of space-based energy? Can you use space technology? Incidentally, space technology and high altitude technology are the same, because in both these places you have to be self-contained. Right? Yeah. Now, how do you get all this? Just think for a moment. If you look at it, government, services, DRDO, DPSU, these are the normal construct which gave you these technologies. And they are virtually not able to give you this technology anymore today. Because BRDO is under reformation. OFP is again under reformation. They're not caught up. Both these are non-functional. Your services are busy theaterizing. But you need to incorporate CSIR, ISRO, BAE tomorrow. And the green ones are the most important. Industry, startups, and academia. This is the new compact which will give you the new technologies. Right? Just to give you a view, most of today's talk I got from my students. Okay, they told me about all this. They researched and said this is what is happening. And then my students have started saying, okay, can we do this, not do this? Maybe in the next semester, I'll give them a few projects to get things out. Give me some prototypes, give me some ideas. Because these ideas are not resident in old people like me, or not in resident with, well drilled and well regimented officers, because our thinking is not changed. They have to integrate with younger students who know technology. And when I say students, young people who are into technology, and then the experience of the armed forces get in to get something out. And then you need the civil military fusion, which I spoke of. Right. I hope I have conveyed something to you. I do know today is the IPL final and the attendance is not much. I hope that tomorrow You will all proliferate this to everyone. And this video will be available to anyone and everyone later on also. I'll take some questions. Okay, talking about cheap versus expensive technology, recently read that 6 predators have been shot down since October, including by ragtag groups like Houthis. We spent $3 billion on them. Still worth it? They would be worth it, but you need to have alternates. That's why I said adopt alternate strategies. Make your own predator, which is cheap through 3D printing using plastic or cardboard. Even if it goes down, so be it. So you have to think differently. You'll you have a mix and match. You have some predators, and you have some of these. You let go, even if they go down, fine. Then the predator goes through. Your tactics have to change accordingly. The tactic of a small number of smart missiles surrounded by a swamp of low-cost dumb and rocket missiles applied by Iran recently was quite successful. Is this the new normal? Yes, this is the new normal. That's what I'm saying. Mix the costly with the cheap, mix the precise with the imprecise. Okay, and let it go. Make it cyber proof, make it electronic warfare proof. Right. How will the prevalent weather conditions environment affect technology? Technology will have to cater for this. Okay. So in our conditions, we have to work hard to ensure that whatever is good, whatever technology we produce is good for the high altitudes. There's no choice. Okay. Yeah. General Shukla keeps saying that the future will be filled with AI-enabled weapons and defense response time will be so less that it will also have to be done via AI. I don't think so. I don't agree with him here. Okay. AI will make a change, but AI is far away from replacing the human being. Wait till I talk about the AI. It's good to talk about AI, from public sources. Let's understand where AI is today. Tomorrow things might change. That's a different story. Maybe General Raj Shukla is ready by tomorrow, but I don't see it changing for the next 5, 6 years. Having dabbled in AI a bit. Okay, tech terrorism, superior tech for winning means that can be outsmarted by tech to sabotage, cheat those. Look, this is a game. Okay, you have to play the game the way you want with your technology. You don't go all tech. I mean, otherwise, Taliban wouldn't have won against America. Hamas wouldn't be giving a solid fight to Israel. Okay, the technology they've adopted is for the way they fight. So if you don't have technology, you fight differently. If you have technology, you fight differently. You don't have to fight the same battle which the enemy fights. That's what I keep telling. Your technology is the best technology which wins you the war. Think differently. Okay. China is testing new small aircraft carrier for drones. Is it this something India should be look at trying? What's the future of Gatak USCAV technology? Can we too rely on carrier-based drone technology? You could, but you could, you know, you could have you don't need long-range technology, drone systems. Why do you? I mean, look at it from this point. Why is China making this drone carriers? It doesn't have bases. You have bases. You have Andaman Nicobar. You have Lakshadweep. Operate off them. You can operate off them. The moment you operate off 6, 7 bases in Andaman Nicobar, you covered the whole lot. You don't need a drone carrier. Same thing in Lakshadweep. And for operating drones, you don't need a big island. You need a small island. Take off. And have your ships enabled to use drones, vertical takeoff. Precision technology may be countered by jamming. Yes, if they're going to happen. So you have jam-proof technology. That's the whole idea. Sir, currently with respect to political military fusion and jointness, who has the advantage, India or Pakistan or China? Clearly Pakistan and China. Let's not have, we shouldn't have no doubts about that. We don't have political military fusion. We don't have civil military fusion. Let's be very clear. What we have is diffusion. And I've said this on the face of the most important people in our society. We don't have. Last year, one of the think tanks asked me to speak from USA on this. And I said this. What are you talking of? Today, when think tanks talk of civil military fusion, they talk of procurement processes. I don't want procurement processes. We have to go beyond that into making technology. Our thinking of civil military fusion is weak. Okay, Akash, I'll talk of AI later. We'll talk of that then. Okay. AI is being called year of AI for robotics. Let's see how it comes about. Okay. Right. Let me take some new one. Out of syllabus. Thoughts on Prannath Tapar. Sorry. I don't do out of syllabus like that. In Ukraine war, many small RPV drones destroying tanks, armored vehicles so easily. Russians have developed turtle armor to protect their tanks. Yeah, I told you, top attack. Yeah. If equipment becomes cheaper and inexpensive, won't every country settle that deal? It's not so easy that everything will become cheap. So you have to mix and match. You still need certain fundamental capabilities. What happens is these small and cheap technologies force multiply your basic technologies. Yeah, realities of new battlefield may require a higher level of WRR for provision for a relatively higher recurrence of carpet bombing. Yeah, that's one way of looking at it. But the other way of looking at it is if you own the technology, you can handle everything. Because if you look, for example, 3D printing. 3D printing increases my rate of production, and I can take that production forward. If I can do that, I don't need to hold stocks. So I have to readjust my capabilities. It doesn't mean my existing capabilities are, disregarded. You force multiply everything. Lakshan from South Africa. By the way, I just read WhatsApp as a complaint from Elon Musk. If a message is deemed inappropriate, yeah, that all that can be done. No, thank you. Yeah, Russia has used glide bombs. Yeah, we'll talk of specific things. What will change with precision and all that? Maybe after this, the first week of June, I'll talk of precision and ramjet and all that. But fundamentally, anything which gives you a reach is great. All the countries of the world fighting whatever they can produce locally and making all planning accordingly. But in the case of India, we are observing other countries' strategy and making import plan. Not exactly right. We are doing something. It's not as if we are exactly aping others, but it's good to study what others are doing. It's not like I told you. I'm in this business of doing something original. Okay, so I'm trying that, and people are accepting it. So we'll change and look at it from a different point of view. If everyone has changed his way of fighting, you have a different way of fighting, dissimilar way of fighting. You fight your way, which you are strong at. The other is trying to imbibe a new way of fighting. He might be unsuccessful. Okay. How much money does invest in all these technologies? Look, it's not a matter of how much money you invest, it's a matter of how much brain power you invest. Okay. And again, remember, don't get overawed by all this. You would have a balance. That's why I have had one episode. Does technology win you wars? There's no evidence to that. Technology has not won the war for Ukraine or Russia. Technology has not won the war for Israel or Hamas. Technology is not winning the war for China. But what is technology doing in war? We'll talk of it later. Yeah, we have DWs called Durga directional. Yeah, fine, no problems. I, let it be deployed on ground. This is all talk. Yeah, hope things are changing. Getting sick of hearing emergency person. Yeah, we are changing. There's no doubt. Let me tell you this. Right? Will India have its own Starlink? We can have. We have to invest into it. You have to privatize it and invest into it. Uh, Look, you have to also understand. There's no point you're comparing yourself with USA or China. They have deep pockets. They have money. We don't have. So you have to be innovative in what you want to do. You have to go where clearly, uh, you know, which gives you quick results and sure results, and think differently and fight differently. Thinking like a less resource army. How can I place India against US? Get WhatsApp numbers. Again, don't get enamored by technology. Wars are fought by people, not technology. Technology assists people. Okay, but if you think you can use this technology like Ukrainians have done, that's the lesson we have to learn. There are technologies available, but you just have to convert them to your use. I can think of many more. I can think of many more. Okay, China must be building tunnels near Indian border, which must be opening deep. No, no, they don't do that. Don't worry, they don't come across. They are building tunnels for their equipment. They are building tunnels for their ammunition. Not like this. Yeah. Tech can be increasingly vulnerable to engineered bugs. Why? Yes, there's no doubt about that. Mm, China used cheap balloons to penetrate US airspace and cause drama. Yeah, yeah, all this they can do, but let them do. You also have to start thinking of all this. There's no doubt. I had noticed my post get only 2 words yet 200 views. Then this then limits my online success capacity as a Hindu minority to find job. I need people that would support me. Oh, okay, really. Ashoka, please go ahead, ask your question. I'll take it. What is the best way to manage today's battle combination? Basic tech versus high tech, big army versus small army, low cost versus high cost, human versus tech dependence. All this, everything is a mixture. You need to do a mix and match based on what you want to do and how you want to fight and where you want to fight against whom you want to fight, taking into account what that fellow has. You need to have a philosophy of fighting. A lot of defense experts in India believe we do not need an aircraft carrier, or we're not getting into that. Will more development of these small technologies also give more spin-off to civilian private sector economy? Definitely. There's no doubt about it. Right? There's no doubt about it. Oh, we'll not talk of this. Yeah, where is India on Ramjet, especially IIT Madras? We are at the pole position. There's no one in the world who has this technology. We are in the pole position. Don't worry. Can we use 3D printed Look, 3D printing is not done in nearby items. You have to think 3D from the beginning. In fact, incidentally, we are doing 3D printing of our Ramjet. Okay. Yeah, how can NRIs contribute to our national security? Is there a club or a special interest group that we can join? Please do an episode if possible. Hare Krishna, just give me an email. We'll see how to have a uh, brainstorming through Gunner Shot on how NRIs can talk of the technologies. You people know you're working in high tech firms where you have some ideas where we can put it across. So then I'll send whatever we discuss in the Gunner Shot. I'll send to people in the army, and then we'll see how to get through with it. But your best shot is get through to academic institutions and say, "This is the technology I have. Can we incorporate it?" Because academic institutions, because all of people who have gone from good academic institutions. So get back to them. That is one way. The other way is what I'm saying. We'll have a system, right? Yeah, I mean in terms of cyber. What is your question? I mean, Ashoka, I have still not got your question. If you still have a thing, send it on the email, right? But let me tell you the way. Yeah, this is your question. When war between Ukraine and Russia started, critical civil infrastructure was the first one to be attacked. Where's India in terms of preparedness for such things? We are poor. Let me be very clear. We're very poor. But our, in terms of cyber attacks or otherwise, also we are pretty poor. The good thing is we are not that networked. See, you have to understand where does cyber attack work. Cyber attacks work against networks. You are not that networked as it. If you're not that networked, you can't be attacked. And especially military systems are pretty safe. Okay. It's the civilian systems which are a problematic thing. Okay. Uh, okay, and this is not something. Will our development of cheap and technologies open up a new military export market to poorer countries? Yes, definitely. There's no doubt about it. Right. With this, I have finished today with what all the questions also and everything. So I hope I've answered most of your questions. I do understand very few people have attended this talk because of IPL and other interests, but I do hope more see it. Send it to your friends. Ask more people to join in, right? And this is something different I put across, and I would like a feedback on this. Thank you. Good evening and Jai Hind.